Hey, how's it going, folks? The name's Deathy, and welcome to my solo play of 4 Against the Darkness. Okay, right, so we're going to be doing a full solo play of this solo RPG book. 4 Against the Darkness is actually a very popular solo RPG series that's been spanning, I think, 10 plus years, I think. For this playthrough, we're going to be using the standard edition of 4 Against the Darkness. There was a expanded edition that was released a couple of years ago with some reordering of the words and paragraphs and sections that teach you how to play the game, as well as the introduction of some new classes. But we're going to be doing the original, as I only have a little bit of experience with this edition. And then the more we play 4 Against the Darkness, I'll add some extra modules and some other side modules, because I believe that 4 Against the Darkness has some homebrew expansions for increased levels, because the base game of 4 Against the Darkness only takes your characters up to a maximum of level 4 and 3, respectively, and then there is some other modules out there for higher play. But, you know, the more we play, we will. So the series is going to be split into 3 different sections. The first section, this one, is going to be a full manual read. The reason why is because I have not played 4 Against the Darkness in a very long time. If you go to the playlist section of this channel, you will find the playlist for my first attempted playthrough on my main channel. So if you want to go check that out for a little bit of a preview of what's to come, you can go check that out. But for me, rereading this manual is going to be a refresher for me, because again, I've played ages, but I remember having a lot of fun with it. So once we're done with the manual reading, what we're going to do is then we're going to move on to our character creation. And then after that, we're going to start doing our first official playthrough on this channel. I'm not entirely too sure how many parts this official playthrough is going to have. I've got a few things in mind, but we'll just see how it comes along, and we're just going to get cracking then, basically. So let's get straight into this. So without further ado, let's have a read. So 4 Against the Darkness, a solitaire dungeon delving pen and paper game. So this is written by Andrea Tifilgoli. I've always had trouble pronouncing that last name. So some art by Heather Shin and J.M. Woyak of The Stinky Goblin. Some art by Jack Bandaschi. Edited by Craig Whiting. Dungeon flowchart by Victor Yamos. Pocket booklets formatted by Wes Camp. And then playtesters Samuel Mariotti, Andrea Tifilgoli, Craig Whiting, Victor Yamos, Diego Cesena, Diego Riccitelli, Massimo Moscavelli. Cover painting, reference pictures and models by Fantasy Stock, Valentine FOV Stock, Mariam Stock, Castock, Linda Curry Stock, Felindavian, Little Queen, Valinara Stock, and Dragon Orb. And for more rulebooks, visit www.gainshagames.net, and for miniatures, visit songblaze.com. And then obviously, if you have any questions, suggestions, there we are. So, as you can see, the contents is quite expanded. We do have up to, as you see, 76 pages. So we're going to try and get through this as quickly and as straightforward as we possibly can. So, introduction. This is an old school Dungeon Bastion solo game that can be played with minimum space and equipment. You'll need pencil, 2 dice, and a graph paper. So this is a 2D, this is a 2D6 system, if I'm not mistaken. You can also play on a dry erase of whiteboard, or even use any dungeon tiles already in your possession. You can play it solo or play cooperatively, sharing the characters with a friend or two. You control a party of 4 heroes who adventure into a dungeon generated by dice rolls. If you have miniatures, you may use them to mark the magic order, but this is not essential. The game can also be run with 2 players, each running a party of dungeon explorers and taking turns to generate 1 room each. As the parties advance through different paths, in this case, roll a die to determine which party goes first every turn. So why 4? A party of 4 characters is the optimum to have enough variety of ability. 4 characters are not too difficult to control for a single player and allow for the occasional non-player character joining the party. If you play cooperatively, the game can work with larger numbers with some modifications. Try running 3 adventurers per player, doubling the number of all monsters and treasure found, and increasing the difficulty of non-monster dangers, traps, saving, rolls, etc. by 1. Length of the game. Your first game will take a bit longer than an hour. After you familiarize yourself with the mechanics, a typical solo game lasts for about 45 minutes. Cooperative games last longer due to discussions that arise among participants. Monsters roll no dice, and this is one of the key mechanics of 4 Against the Darkness I absolutely love. All the roles in the game are performed by characters. The power and danger level of a monster is indicated by a number, that is the monster's level. When the characters attack, they perform attack rolls and compare them with the monster's level to determine if the monsters are killed. When it's the monster's turn to attack, your characters perform defense rolls versus the monster's level, taking wounds if they fail. So basically it just means that the combat is a lot more streamlined, a lot more quicker. So dice codes. The game uses regular 6-sided die annotated as a d6. We use the following dice codes. d6, roll a die. d6 plus 1, roll a die and add 1 to the result. 2d6, roll 2 die and add them. 2d6 plus 1, roll 2 die, add them together and add 1 to the total. d6 times d6, roll 2 die and multiply the result of 1 die by the other, generates a number from 1 to 36. d6 minus 1, roll 1 die and subtract 1 from the result, generating a number from 0 to 5. d6 plus L, roll a die and add the character's level. d6 plus half level, roll a die and add half the character's level rounded down. d66, roll 2 die of different colours. Reading the first as tens and the second as units, generating a number from 11 to 66. And then this is a pretty cool mechanic to have called the Explosive 6 rule. Whenever you roll a 6 performing any character action, immediately roll another d6 and add the result to your total. This is cumulative. If you roll another 6, roll again and add it to the total. With enough luck, you can roll any number. In combat, this will let you kill multiple minions with a single blow. In other situations, it will let a character save against a threat higher than 6. So it's just a good way of basically continuing that good luck spree. Very nice. Okay, so the party. You have a party of 4 adventurers. Each belongs to one of the following classes. So we have up to 5 traditional classes and 3 racial classes, is what I call them. So we've got the warrior, the cleric, rogue, wizard, barbarian, dwarf, halfling, and elf. Each class has special abilities and weaknesses that will become evident during the game. For example, a wizard is good at weak in combat, but is good at casting spells and solving puzzles. Elves and halflings are more agile than other characters. Warriors and barbarians can withstand more punishment. Barbarians are the toughest, but they cannot wear the best armor and may not use any magic items due to suspicion's fear of magic. A good party generally has a mixture of classes, so like each class will have the pros and cons as well as their own little quirks that makes them very unique to each other. Your characters can be of any gender, but for brevity we use masculine pronouns in the rulebook. Print out a copy of the party sheet at the end of the book to keep track of your character's wounds, possessions, gold, and level. These numbers will change throughout the game, so I'll use a pencil, but I'll be using a art software program which I'll introduce in the next video. So all your characters begin at first level adventurers. A character is described by the name, level, and the character type. For example, Bruggo, level 2 rogue. Each character has an attack value describing how powerful he is in combat, a defense value describing how well protected he is or how skilled he is in parrying or dodging, a life value, the number of wounds that the character can take before dying. The profile sheet has spaces for character special skills such as a wizard, spells, treasure, and equipment. So when it comes to life value, the beautiful thing about this game is that there is no damage die per se. So for example, with Dungeons & Dragons, where different weapons have a different damage die, such as a dagger having a d4 and a rapier and a d8. Basically, if you inflict a wound or take a wound, it's basically minus 1 HP. So very, very, very simple to keep track of. Phrase of your party. At the beginning of your game, your 4 heroes are just starting out their adventure career. They are all level 1. Each belongs to one of the characters described below. Traits are the rules that differentiate a class from another. Skills, equipment, and the character can use are limitations. Each class lists also some basic equipment and a few coins. So, warrior. Traits. A warrior adds his level to his attack rolls. A warrior may use a shield, light armor, heavy armor, and any weapon. Starting equipment. The warrior begins the game with light armor, shield, and a hand weapon. He may trade in his shield and hand weapon for a 2-handed weapon or a bow if he wants. Starting wealth is 2d6 gold pieces, and life points is 6 plus level. A first level warrior has 7 life. Cleric. Cleric. A cleric adds half his level rounded down to his attack rolls, and his full level when he attacks undead creatures, so undead specialist. He may wear light or heavy armor and use a shield and a hand weapon, a 2-handed weapon, or a sling. A cleric may cast the blessing spell up to 3 times per adventure. A cleric may use the healing power 3 times per game. This power allows the cleric to heal a number of life points equal to d6 plus his level. The cleric may use healing at any moment, even during a fight, but he may not attack on the same turn in which he heals someone. A cleric may use healing on himself or on a friend. Starting equipment: light armor, shield, hand weapon. He may trade in his shield and a hand weapon for a two-handed weapon. Clerics usually prefer crushing weapons because the chances of meeting skeletons and skeleton rats in dungeons are pretty high. So, so basically there's a reason why they mention the skeletons and skeleton rats, because in this game, certain enemies have weaknesses to certain weapons, so it makes having a variety of weapons amongst your party or individuals make it worthwhile. We'll go more in depth for that later on. So starting wealth is D6 gold coins, or gold pieces, and life is 4 plus level. A first level cleric has 5 life. Rogue. Traits. A rogue adds his level on rolls to disarm traps and to his defense rolls. A rogue may wear only light armor and may not use heavy weapons or shields. A rogue adds his level to his attack rolls only when attacking an outnumbered minion, i.e. if the party is more numerous than a group of minions. So for example, a party of 4 including a rogue attacks 4 orcs. The party clerics kill on an orc, so now the adventurers outnumber the rogue's 4-3. When the rogue's turn to attack comes, the rogue adds his level to his attack roll. This represents the rogue slipping past an enemy and stabbing him in the back. So very important to keep track of. Starting equipment is a rope, lockpicks, light armor, and a light hand weapon. Starting wealth is 3d6 gold pieces, and life is 3 plus level. A first level rogue has 4 life. Wizard. A wizard or sorceress adds his level only when attacking with spells, or on rolls to solve puzzles or riddles. A wizard may use only light weapons or a sling. He may not wear armor or use a shield. A wizard begins the game with 2 spells, plus 1 spell per level, so a 3rd level wizard has 3 spells. The wizard must decide which spells he has prepared before starting the adventure. He may prepare multiple copies of the same spell, or any combination of the 6 spells allowed in the game. A wizard may find additional spells in adventures and add them to the repertoire of spells that he can prepare. Spells acquired when leveling may be used immediately. And starting equipment is light hand weapon, a spellbook, and writing implements. Starting wealth is 4d6 gold pieces, and life is 2 plus level. A first level wizard has 3 life points, so wizards are quite powerful in this game. They have some good damaging spells, but also some good utility spells as well. So we'll go over the spell section later on. So next is Barbarian. Traits. A Barbarian adds his level to his attack rolls. A Barbarian may use a shield and light armor in any weapon, but a Barbarian may not wear heavy armor. A Barbarian may not use magic items, scrolls, or potions. He may grudgingly accept healing from a cleric, since that's technically not magic but divine favor. It may use holy water. So, obviously being an outlandish type character, they don't believe in magic and such. They only believe in raw might and simple understanding of the lands. So what's the game? A Barbarian may perform a rage attack. During a rage attack, roll the attack die 3 times and choose the best result. If the rage attack hits a boss monster, it inflicts 2 wounds. So, that's what I mentioned with inflicting or taking 1 wound at a time. So with a rage attack, you do 2. So very useful in a pinch. Starting equipment. Light armor, shield, and hand weapon. You may trade in his shield and hand weapon for a 2-handed weapon or a bow. Starting wealth is 6 gold pieces, and life is 7 plus level. A first level barbarian has 8 points. So moving on to the elf. An elf adds his level to attack rolls. An elf can't advance up to 3rd level maximum. So this is what I mean about having maximum of 4 levels or 3. And the racial characters seem to have a little bit of a cap around level 3, but they make up for it in other ways. So the elf can wear light or heavy armor and may use a shield. He can cast a single spell per level per adventure, but only if he's wearing light armor and not using a shield. An elf may carry a shield strapped to his back and waste 1 attack to ready the shield. A 2nd level elf may prepare 2 spells, and a 3rd level elf may prepare 3 spells. For spell casting purposes, the elf adds his level like a wizard. An elf has a +1 to his attack or spell roll when fighting orcs. Like a wizard, an elf may find additional spells and add them to the repertoire of spells that he can prepare. Spells added when leveling up may be used immediately. So starting equipment is light armor, hand weapon, and a bow. Starting wealth is 2d6 gold pieces, and for life is 4 plus level. A first level elf has 5 life points. So moving on to the dwarf next. Traits. A dwarf adds his level to attack rolls, except when using ranged weapons like bows, crossbows, or slings. Dwarves have a +1 to their defense rolls against tigers, trolls, orcs, and giants, and a +1 to their attack rolls against goblins. A dwarf can wear any armor and can use any weapon. A dwarf may advance up to 4th level maximum. Dwarves can smell golden jewels. When you meet a monster, if you have a dwarf in the party, roll a die and add the dwarf's level. If the total is 6 or better, you may determine the monster's treasure before deciding to attack the monster. Dwarves are extremely attached to their gold. A party of 2 or more dwarves may not bribe monsters. When you find treasure that can be split, such as coins, you must always assign at least 1 coin to every dwarf in the party as possible, so a little bit of a downside there. Dwarves are natural goldsmith and gem experts. If you sell a gem or jewelry item, if you have a dwarf in your party, you are paid 20% more for the gem, round fractions down. So that's a little bit more money than per usual, very, very useful. So starting equipment, light armor, shield, hand weapon, or heavy armor, and 2-handed weapon. So light armor, shield, hand weapon, or heavy armor and 2-handed weapon. And starting wealth is 3d6 gold pieces, and life is 5+ level. A first level dwarf has 6 life points. And then finally, we have the halfling. A halfling may wear only light armor and use only light hand weapons and slings. Halflings may not use shields. Halflings add their level to defense rolls against giants, trolls, and ogres. Halflings can advance up to 3rd level maximum. Halflings have a number of luck points equal to the level +1. During an adventure, a halfling may spend a luck point to re-roll a failed attack or defense roll, or to run away from combat without receiving an attack. See run away from combat in the encounter section. You may not re-roll a re-roll, and the result of the re-roll stands, even if they're worse than the original roll. That little bit of the text always makes me laugh. It's always like a little bit of a, like a she saw kind of speech. Starting equipment, lots of snacks, sling, light hand weapon. Now, there's something I need to mention about the lots of snacks. Apparently, the lots of snacks is a flavor text. It is not something to do with the base game. Now, the only thing I can think of regarding the lots of snacks is that I read up that there was some homebrew rules which involved rations for some homebrew modules, I believe. So a lot of people just rule that the lots of snacks is like a D6 ration roll or something. But yeah, I mean, there's multiple opinions on it. I don't bother using it because we're just doing dungeons and all that. But when we start moving it into one of the next modules, which I believe takes us out of the dungeon and into outside, then maybe we might use that, but we'll see. So starting wealth is 2d6 gold pieces, and life is 3+ level. A first level halfling has 4 half points. So now we're moving on to the equipment session. So money may be used to bribe monsters, to pay the services of healers and alchemists, to buy weapons and other equipment, or even to resurrect a dead friend. So buying equipment. Equipment may be bought before the game or in between games. Here is a list of items a character can buy in the price in gold pieces. So we have bandage at 5 gold pieces, blessing spell at 100, bow 15, hand weapon 6, heavy armor 30, holy water vial 30, lantern 4, light armor 10, light hand weapon 5, potion healing 100, resurrection ritual 1000, rope 4, shield 5, sling 4, two-handed weapon 15. You can move gold pieces between characters at any time during the combat, but not during a combat. During the game, but not during a combat, pardon. After all, they're friends. They may decide to pool their resources to make sure that the group's best fighter buys the best weapon they can afford, or a blessing spell so that a colleague turned to stone by Medusa gets back into action. So the way I kind of rule it is that each character has their own coin pot, and basically they don't really move coin around unless it requires like healing or a resurrection. And if it does, then what I'd do is I'd normally do an oracle roll to determine if they say yes or no to it. Basically, if you've seen me do any oracle rolls in any of my other solo RPG series, basically an oracle roll is from the Solo Adventures Toolbox, which I use. It's point 1. Basically, it's a d20 roll. 1 to 9 is no, 10 is a re-roll, and 11 to 20 is yes. So, I might mention it here and there, or I might just forget it and just use it anyway. So, bandages. Each character can apply bandages once per adventure, healing 1 lost life. The effect of bandages are cumulative with magic healing from potions or spells. Bandages may not be applied during combat. So, blessing spell. The characters paid a local church to cast a blessing spell to remove a game condition such as being cursed or turned to stone from a party member. So, bow. This lets the characters perform a single attack before the monsters can act, even when the monsters act before the party. Then the bow may no longer be used as the monsters and characters are assumed to be in close combat. The bow user will need to spend a turn to put away the bow and draw another weapon. Arrows are considered slashing weapons. You may assume that the character carries all arrows that you'll need, and that its quiver gets replenished between games. If you do not mind the additional bookkeeping, you may track how many arrows the character uses. The character begins the game with a quiver of 12 arrows. All the arrows in the game are lost or damaged. A character can buy more arrows at the cost of 6 gold pieces per dozen. The maximum character can carry is 48 arrows. Now, regarding the bow itself, because obviously it says that you can use it, and then you don't in close combat, there is actually a little bit of self-ruling. I actually do a little bit of different ruling for this, and the same goes for another weapon later on, but I will talk about it when we get to that ultra-range weapon. So, hand weapon. This is a standard weapon like sword, axe, or mace. Choose whether you want a crushing or a slashing weapon. Heavy armor. A suit of heavy armor adds +2 to the wearer's defense rolls. Certain attacks from monsters will ignore this bonus. Heavy armor makes the wearer slow, so in certain cases the character will have a negative modifier on his save rolls. Heavy armor is designed to fit one wearer, so you may not reassign it to another character if the original wearer dies. Holy water vial. Holy water is purified water created by high-level clerics through a lengthy procedure of chanting a purification in a silver basin. A vial of holy water is thrown as an attack against a creature susceptible to it. Vampires, demons automatically inflicts 1 wound upon a creature. The church restricts the use of holy water, so a party may buy a maximum of 1 vial per character, so that makes sense, that, you know, it's an automatic 1 wound. Now this is the most important part of the game, the lantern. A party must have at least 1 lantern and assign it to a character. The character must use 1 hand to carry the lantern and may not use a bow, a shield, or a 2-handed weapon. If the lantern bearer is killed, another character must pick the lantern up at the end of the combat. You may also decide to carry more than 1 lantern just in case. Now, I believe with the lantern that if you choose to, basically, as far as I'm aware, the lantern is pretty mandatory in this game, because if you choose not to use the lantern, your party has some very heavy negative modifiers, I believe. So a lot of people do recommend taking at least 1 lantern. As for those negatives, I don't exactly know. Obviously, I don't remember off the top of my head, but there'll be a section talking about it, I imagine. So, light armor. Light armor adds +1 to the wearer's defense rolls. Certain attacks from monsters ignore this bonus. When the original wearer dies, you may reassign light armor to another wearer of the same species. A dwarf's light armor will fit another dwarf, but not an elf, halfling, or human. Makes sense. Light hand weapon. The weapon gives the user a -1 on attack rolls. Choose whether your weapon deals crushing or slashing damage. Potion of healing. Drinking the contents of this vial, even in the middle of an encounter, will restore a character's life to its initial level. No character may drink more than 1 potion of healing per adventure. Resurrection spell. This is bought between games with a chance to resurrect a dead party member. Rope. This may be necessary to tie up a defeated monster. Shield. This gives a +1 to the user's defense rolls. This bonus does not apply when the character is fleeing from a combat or when he is surprised by wandering monsters. Certain attacks of the monsters will ignore the shield's bonus. And sling. This weapon works like a bow, but at -1. Bullets from a sling are treated as crushing weapons. Now, mention about the reruling I do for the bow and the sling. Now, for me at least, right, in your dungeons, when you come to combat in rooms, the combat is staged where it's man to man or 1-to-1, right? So, for example, if you have a party of 4 against 4 orcs, as it was exampled earlier, basically it's that kind of combat, 1 against 1 against 1 against 1, right? Now, when you fight in corridors, it's different. Because when you are in corridors, you march in a column of 2s. So you have position 1, position 2, and you're marching order front here. And then you have the back 3 here, right? So the way it works is it's 2-on-2. And then followed by another 2 that attacks, you know, like that, right? And then you've got people behind, and then the front 2 fall, or one of them falls, then one of them from the back row will come to the forward. Now, I've ruled where if a character has 2 hands free and they're in the back row, they are allowed to use a sling or a bow against any creatures that's beyond the front line. So, you know, the characters that's behind them. Because, I mean, to be fair though, I mean, it gives your other characters a chance to do something. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like that's just a little bit better in my opinion, because the fact is you're just doing 2-on-2 and then you got your other characters not doing anything. I mean, I know you got, you can, with the wizard for example, you can cast spells from the back line as well as the the health, I suppose. But for example, like if you've got like a fighter, or if say like you got a party of 3 fighters and a cleric, for example, and one of your fighters at the back, they're not doing anything, do you know what I mean? So I'm allowing them to use, so basically I'm allowing them to use the bow from the back, you know what I mean? It just makes it a little bit more simple in my eyes. Okay, so then finally, two-handed weapon. This weapon requires 2 hands to be used, so the user cannot carry a shield or a lantern, but gives a +1 to the wielder's attack rolls. Choose whether your two-handed weapon deals crushing or slashing damage, and then here we get a little bit of an explanation between the two. So crushing or slashing. When you choose a weapon for a character, choose whether it deals crushing or slashing damage. Crushing weapons are blunt trauma weapons that are better against fragile enemies like skeletons that will break under the blows. Examples: crushing light hand weapons, club, staff, cudgel, shillelagh, joystick, nunchaku, walking stick, wizard staff. Crushing hand weapons, so remember lights have a -1 to the attack roll, and two-handed have a +1 to the attack roll. Crushing hand weapons, metal rod, mace and hammer, and crushing two-handed weapons, maul, warhammer, huge war club, quarterstaff, and crushing missile weapons, throwing stick, and sling. And then slashing weapons are bladed or pointed weapons that can inflict damage by cutting and puncturing. They may be envenomed. Examples are slashing hand weapons, light hand weapons, dagger, knife, short sword, slashing hand weapons, sword, axe, rapier, saber, spear, and slashing two-handed weapons, pike, long spear, two-handed sword, halberd, naginata, glaive, and then slashing missile weapons is bow and crossbow. So weapons are hit at a +1 by the right weapon type and a -1 by the wrong weapon type. You may carry more than one weapon. During combat, you may spend a turn to exchange weapons. Note on your profile your default weapon on your profile. That's the one you'll be wielding when wandering monsters sneak on you or when you enter a room. And then here we got selling equipment. If you sell equipment, you get half its cost and GP rounded down. Magic equipment may be sold but not bought. Potions and enchanted rings may be sold for 50 gold pieces. Wands, scrolls, and staves may be sold for 100 per every spell they contain. Other magic equipment will net you d6 times d6 GP. Magic equipment described in adventures or supplements will have its own gold pieces cost. Okay, so now we're going to how to attack monsters. You will encounter monsters and often you'll have to fight them. Each monster will have a level, a measure of how dangerous it is. The level is the number you must roll to wound the monster to defend from its attacks, or to affect him with a spell. For example, a goblin's level 3, so you need to roll a 3 or better to wound him, affect him with a spell, or parry his blows. An attack on a monster is performed with a d6 roll. Warriors, elves, dwarves, and barbarians add their level to the roll. For example, a 3rd level barbarian will roll d6 + 3. Clerics add their roll rounded down. For example, a 3rd level cleric will roll d6 + 1. Wizards adds their level only if they cast a spell. Rogues add their level only when attacking an outnumbered minion. The attack roll is modified by weapon type. A two-handed weapon adds a +1 and a light weapon, such as a club or knife, traps 1. Some weapons have bonuses against specific monsters. For example, Christian weapons hit skeletons at +1. So for example, your 5th level cleric attacks a skeleton using a two-handed mace. You roll d6 + 2 for being 5th level, half level rounded down, +1 for using a two-handed weapon, and +1 for using a skeleton weapon against a skeleton. And then for example, 2, your 4th level warrior attacks using a sword. You roll d6 + 4 to character's level. And example 3, your character attacks with a dagger, light weapon. You roll d6 -1 for a light weapon. No level bonus is added, and a 5th level wizard fights like a 1st level wizard, so it's a good way of balancing things. So monsters. Monsters are 2 types. Minions, creatures from the Minions of Vermin table, and bosses, creatures from the Weird Monsters of Boss tables. Minions are encountered in large numbers. They have 1 life each. Each successful attack kills 1. When a group of minions loses more than half its initial number, for example, if the group of 8 loses 5, the remaining minions must make a morale roll, a d6 for the whole group. If you roll 3 or less, the remaining monsters flee. If you roll 4 or better, the monsters continue to fight. You perform 1 morale roll per encounter unless the monster profile says otherwise. Cowardly or courageous monsters may have a +1 or a -1 modifier to their morale roll. Some monsters never roll morale. This is indicated in the monster's profile. Monsters who fight to the death. See monster reactions below. Do not test morale. Bosses. Bosses are tougher than minions. They have multiple life points like characters. Some perform more than 1 attack per turn. Every successful hit on a boss depletes one of their life points. Now this is the cool thing. When a boss loses more than half his life points, his level drops by 1 and must make a morale roll. Roll a die. If the result is 3 or less, the boss flees. If the roll is 4 or better, the boss continues to fight to the bitter end, when his life points reaches 0. The boss is dead and his body and room can be looted for treasure. Important. The boss's level drops immediately as soon as you reduce his life total to less than half. For example, a level 6 boss with 5 life points becomes a level 5 creature when you inflict 3 points of damage. This means it becomes easier to hit the monster and to avoid his attack, so as it gets weaker. Fleeing monsters. Monsters that flee just appear from the game. You may not chase them, you still get a treasure, so that's a good way. So that's really good. So then we have monster reactions. In general, your party has the option to act before the monsters. When you encounter monsters, you may A, or 1, attack them right away, or 2, let the monsters act first to see what they do. Every monster has a reactions table under its description. Roll a d6 on the table to determine what the monster will do. The minions make a single roll for the whole group. The following results are possible. Offer food and rest. The monster offers food, rest, and attending on wounds. You may heal 1 wound per character. Peaceful. The monster will not attack. You may move through the room as desired, but the monster will not help you in any way. Flee. The monster turns tail and flees. The monster disappears from the game. You may not loot his body. Flee if outnumbered. The monsters flee only if there's fewer monsters than party members, otherwise the monsters fight. Bribe. The monsters ask for a bribe. A fixed or random amount of gold pieces shown on the reaction table. If you pay the bribe, the monsters will leave you alone. If you do not and cannot pay, they fight. The monsters fight. The monsters go first in the combat round. Monsters may be required to test morale when reduced under 50% of the initial number of life points, unless their profile or the adventure states that they are not check morale. Fight to death. The monster will fight to the death, asking for no quarter and giving none. Monsters who fight to the death do not test morale. And puzzle. The monster will ask a party to solve a puzzle or to add or answer a riddle. The puzzle has a level. If you roll its level or better on a d6, the puzzle is solved and the monster lets you go. Wizard adds the level to the roll. If the puzzle is not solved, the monster attacks. The party going first in the turn. You only get 1 chance to solve the puzzle. Same puzzle then, puzzle. Quest. The monster asks you to perform a quest. You may accept or refuse the quest. If you accept, roll the quest table to determine your mission. If you complete the quest, as soon as you come back to the room where you encountered the monster, roll on the epic rewards table to determine your reward. If you refuse the quest, the monster leaves. Magic challenge. If you have a party of at least 1 wizard or a magic item allowing you to cast a spell, the monster will challenge the spellcaster to a magic duel. The other characters may not interfere. Roll a d6 for the wizard, add in his level, and if the result equals or surpasses the monster's level, the wizard wins. The monster walks away and you may take his treasure. If the wizard loses, he loses a level. A wizard may be demoted to level 0, losing the ability to cast spells until it performs an XP roll and goes back to level 1. A 0 level wizard succeeds on an XP roll of 2 or better. A roll of 1 is still a failure. If you cannot or do not want to accept the magic challenge, or if the wizard loses the monster will fight. Monsters losing a magic challenge count as defeated and count on purposes or XP rolls. And in special, monsters in published adventure supplements may have our reactions. So there, and then we're going to go into the rooms here. As you can see, there's over 100 different. There's 66 rooms that we can generate through a D66 roll. And then we have roll tables. I'm going to go through these as we go through the dungeon. It just gives you a little hint of what you can fight and what you can do. The epic rewards table as well. Okay, so moving through the dungeon. The game does not use any formal way to mark the passage of time. The characters simply move from room to room. If in a scenario, it's important to calculate the passage of time, for example, because there is a game effect that can happen after a certain time. Assume that each generated room or corridor equals 10 minutes of the character's time. This may seem like a lot, but including bandaging wounds, counting coins and splitting them among the party, resting, eating, and a lot of minor activities that need not be recorded. So running up paper. Your rooms may be drawn up to the edge of the sheet of paper. We recommend using a sheet that is 20 squares in width by 28 squares in height. A slightly smaller or larger sheet will work fine. If a room or corridor meets the end of the paper, that room ends there. If the room goes onto the edge of the paper, ignore the portion of the room that will go out to the paper. Ignore any door that connects at the edge of the paper. That room or corridor is a dead end. No room for a room. If your random room creates a room that won't fit, for example because it would intersect with another room or corridor, truncate the room. If it's a dead end, it still counts as a room or corridor, as per the random roll route, and you'll still roll for its content, even if it's only 1 square in size. Retracing your steps. Sometimes you need to go back for rooms that you have already visited. For every room or section or corridor you visit, roll a die. On a 1, your party is attacked by wandering monsters. Wandering monsters always sneak up on you, so they attack first, beginning with the characters at the rear of your marching order. After one turn, if you're in the room, the party will spread out and protect its weakest members, so you may distribute the wandering monster attacks like how you would in normal combat. If you re-enter a room occupied by the monster that you bribed, wandering monsters may not appear in that room. Roll reactions for that monster. If a bribe result is rolled again, the monster will ask for another bribe. And if you do not provide it, it will attack the party. If another result is rolled, the monster will let you move through the roll asking no bribe, making a note of the treasure that you gave the monster. You may always change your mind later and choose to attack the bribed monster. If you do so, you recover your treasure, in addition to any treasure generated by that encounter's treasure roll, if any. Final boss. Unless you're playing a ready-to-run adventure, your default mission is to slay the dungeon's final boss. Each time you meet a boss monster, roll a d6 and add a +1 for every boss monster you've already encountered in this game, including any creature from the Weird Monsters table. If you roll 6 or better, you meet the final boss. Keep a toll of the bosses you have encountered in the appropriate box or the playing sheet. If you run out of doors to open, the last room you generate will automatically contain a final boss monster. The final boss has 1 additional life, 1 additional attack, and will automatically fight to death. The gold piece treasure of the final boss is tripled, or increased to 100 gold pieces, whatever is best for you. If it has a magic item, then its treasure, you will find 2 magic items instead. Killing the final boss and moving out of the dungeon ends the adventure, but if there are quests going on, you may wish to continue until you complete the dungeon or the quest, whatever else first. If there's an unopened door in the final boss's room, you may ignore it or open it as you see fit. Time limit. You may set yourself a real time limit, such as I'll play for 45 minutes, and then when I automatically meet a final boss in the last room I generate, I'll fight that battle, trace my way back to the exit and call it a game. Let's get out of here. Killing the final boss and taking its gold is not enough. You actually have to make it the dungeon alive. The characters will be exhausted, wounded, and hopefully slowed by the caskets, gold that they carry. So the monsters will try and sneak on them. Roll a d6 for every room or corridor you have to cross to get out of the dungeon, including the first room. On a 1, wandering monsters attack. Splitting the party. In certain circumstances, you may want to split the party. For example, you may want to leave a character to guard the body of a fallen comrade, or send a single character to complete the quest. In these cases, every time wandering monsters are rolled in the main party, roll a 1 in 6 chance of wandering monsters appearing also for the characters left alone. Splitting the party is very dangerous, definitely. Fallen heroes. When a character loses his last life, he slumps to the ground, mostly wounded. If the combat is still going on, a partner may still access to any scroll, potion, vial of holy water, weapon, shield, and magic item on the dead body's adventurer. But to do so, the comrade must forfeit his attack on that turn. If the party withdraws from the room, one adventurer may carry the body of the fallen comrade if you wish, but the character will not be able to make defense rolls and will be automatically hit by any monster attacking him. A comrade carrying a dead friend will automatically be the rear guard of the marching order, so position 3 or 4. The party may carry a dead comrade out of the dungeon by moving to the first room of the dungeon. They are assumed to leave the body just outside the dungeon. Redistribute amongst themselves any treasure or equipment the dead comrade was carrying, and they may continue the adventure if they wish. If you leave treasure on the comrade's body, there's a 5 in chance it will be stolen if you leave it unguarded. You may want to carry a dead comrade out of the dungeon for 2 reasons. To give him a proper burial, or if you can afford to spend 1,000 gold pieces, to have the local church attempt a resurrection ritual. Roll d6. If the result is equal to or lower than the character's level, the ritual is successful. The character comes back to life and may continue to play in the campaign. If the roll fails, the money is spent, but the character is basically it's completely lost. A new first level character must be chosen to replace the dead adventurer. And then leveling up. Leveling up is pretty interesting in this game. I'll tell you why. Every time the party kills a boss, completes a quest, or survives 10 encounters with minions, a character of your choice may attempt to level up, so one person. This is called an experience or XP roll. So you roll a die, and if the result is higher than the character's current level, the character gains a level. If you slay a dragon as the final boss monster, you get 2 XP rolls, but a maximum of 1 level increase. Abilities that allow to reroll dice such as the Halfling's Luck may not be used in XP rolls. XP rolls for minions are a -1. You may not attempt to level up with the same character twice in a row. For example, Dolan, the 3rd level wizard, is in a party that managed to kill a Chaos Lord. Since the Chaos Lord is a boss, the party decides to attempt an XP roll for Dolan. The party's roll of 3, which is not higher than Dolan's current level, so Dolan remains a 3rd level wizard. Later in the adventure, the party slays a dragon. The player attempts to level up Dolan again, killing a dragon gets 2 XP rolls. The player rolls a d6, scores a 5, so Dolem levels up and becomes a 4th level wizard. The player can now use the second XP roll for another character since you have a maximum of 1 level increase per encounter and a character. If Rolem's XP roll has failed, the player could have used the second XP roll and attempt leveling up Rolem again. So basically, the higher level a character is, the less chances of them leveling up, and to me, in my opinion, this is a very, very good balanced way of leveling up your characters, making them not as overpowered as they are. I mean, like, for example, it keeps everybody relatively within power level, do you know what I mean? Instead of having I mean, obviously, like, the higher level the character with a certain classes, the more powerful they become, but in terms I think just in general balance, it's not that bad in my opinion. Okay, so maximum levels. Once a character attains 5th level, okay, pardon me, I thought it was 4th. Once a character attains 5th level, he has reached his peak and may no longer level up. Dwarves peak up as 4th levels, elves and halflings peak at 3rd level. Increasing life with level. A character who gains a level gains 1 life point. Ready-to-run campaigns may have different rules for gaining levels based on the plot of the adventure. In the Supplement 4 Against Darkness Deeper Dungeons, the characters have options to take expert skills instead of leveling up. So yeah, we'll get to those supplements later on once we've done a few of these 4 Against the Darkness basic runs. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to spells, and we'll go into encounters. How long have we got left? Yeah, we've still got a good bit left. There's a couple of tables and a couple of parts I don't want to read because it makes more sense to have a look at them as we're going through the game. So spells. There are 6 basic spells in the game. Blessing can be cast by wizards and clerics. Blessing can be cast by wizards, okay. All of the spells may be cast only by wizards and elves. Casting a spell is an action equivalent to attacking in combat. The spells may be cast during the melee. A spellcaster may attack as a normal or cast a spell, not both. The escape spell may be cast instead of making a defense roll. It is the only spell that can be cast during the monster's turn. So the spells is this. So we have Blessing. The spell removes a curse from the creature. A curse is a game effect gained by stepping into a cursed room. Blessing will also remove other condition, such as being turned to stone by a Medusa. Fireball. This spell works like an attack roll. The wizard adds his level to the roll. Fireball does not affect dragons, but it does affect zombie dragons. If using his minions, the fireball slays a number of creatures equal to the wizard's die roll minus the level of the minions. A minimum of 1 creature is always slain, so for example, a level 1 wizard casts a fireball at a group of goblins level 3 minions. The wizard rolls a 5 plus 1, 6 in total, so 6 minus 3, 3 goblins are killed. So, Lightning Bolt. The spell works like an attack roll. The wizard adds his level to the roll. Against a group of minions, the spell will kill just 1 if it hits. Against a boss, it inflicts 2 life points if it hits. Sleep. The spell works like an attack roll. It does not affect undead or dragons. The wizard adds his level to the roll. Sleep will defeat 1 boss or d6 plus L minions if it hits. Monsters put to sleep counts as slain. So, sleep will defeat 1 boss. Works like an attack roll. Yeah, so basically you add your... Okay, that's fine. Escape. The wizard disappears from his current location and reappears in the first room in the game. The spell may be cast in lieu of making a defense roll, or it may be cast normally in the party's turn. It works automatically. Protect. The spell gives a +1 to a single character's defense rolls the whole duration of a battle. So, basically, when you're choosing your spells for your wizard, choose automatically, or you can do a d6, and you can just randomly allocate them. So, encounters. When your party enters a room or encounters monsters, you have 2 options. 1. You act first and attack the monsters, or 2. You wait and see what the monsters do. If you attack immediately, your characters perform attack rolls and divide them by the level of monsters, thus calculating how many monsters are slain by the attack. So this is kind of like a surprise attack. So think of it like surprise round in D&D. For example, a warrior rolls a total attack of 7. When attacking a group of goblins, level 3, the attack kills 2 goblins. 1 goblin with the first 3 points, another goblin with the other 3 points, and the extra points wasted. Your characters may attack in any order you want. Only the monsters that survive when your party turn ends and the monster turns begin get a chance to strike back at your characters. If you do not attack immediately, the monster will go first. Roll a d6 on the monster's reaction table and determine what the monsters do. Some monsters will always attack, so it makes no sense to let them have the initiative. As monsters described on pages 23 and 26, some monsters will flee, accept a bribe, or even asked to perform a quest. If monsters take you by surprise, bird or sneaky goblins, they will automatically act. First, roll on the reaction tables to determine what to do. Marching order. You must decide in which order the characters are marching in the dungeon. Use miniatures or counters to represent this, or write the marching order on the adventure sheet simply by writing a number 1, 2, 3, or 4 next to the character's name. You may change your marching order anytime you're in an empty room or corridor. You may not change your marching order when fighting. And this is what I mean about the ranged weapons. So marching order in corridors. A corridor is large enough to allow your characters to walk side by side. So a group of 4 characters will have 2 characters in the front, places 1 and 2, and 2 in the rear, 3 and 4. A party of 3 characters will have 2 characters in the front, places 1 and 2, and 1 in the rear plus 3. If the party is reduced to 2 characters, they both count as being in the front, but both will be attacked in the rear if surprised by wandering monsters. If in a corridor, only characters in places 1 and 2 can fight, while characters places 3 and 4 can only cast spells or attack over the heads of their friends if they have a bow and sling. Ah, right. Okay, right. Well, that's stupid. I didn't realize it was rules written. I actually thought it was just a rule that I decided. I forgot about that. So yeah, can only cast spells or attack over the heads of the friends if they have a bow or sling. Alright, so there we go then. Just only in corridor fights. Sorry, only in room fights you can't use that. Only in corridor fights you can use ranged weapons. Okay, that makes sense. The same restriction applies to monsters. When you encounter a group of monsters in the corridor, only 2 of them will be able to attack your characters. Marching order in rooms. Marching order is irrelevant when the party enters a room. Rooms are large enough that all characters can fight. However, characters with bows and slings may only use them on the first turn. After that, they'll engage in close combat. In close combat, all characters are assumed to draw their close quarter weapons, or if they have none, will fight at a -2 to attack rolls using punches and kicks. Spells may be cast as normal in rooms. Spellcasters are tough enough to withstand a melee hit and still be able to fry opponents with a fireball. When do monsters attack? After all the characters in the party have performed 1 action each, it's the monster's turn to attack. If any survive, the party's attack. The monsters do not roll dice. These characters who are attacked make a defense roll against the level of the monsters. The defense roll is modified by armor, speed, armor, shield, and by the character's level in case of rogues. So defense roll modifiers: light armor +1, heavy armor +2, shield +1, rogue, active rogues level, dwarf defending against troll giant +1, halfling defending against troll giant or ogre adds the halfling's level. A roll of 1 is always a failure, and a roll of 6 is always successful defense. Certain attacks will be negated by bonuses from armor or shield. Surprise attacks or wandering monsters who sneak up at the party negate the bonuses from shields. And then we got defense roll success. If the characters roll higher than the monster's level, or if he rolls a natural or modified 6, the character takes no damage from the attack. Defense roll failure. If his defense roll is equal to or lower than the monster's level, or if the character rolls a natural 1, modified, the character takes 1 wound, mark 1 life off the character's profile. Some powerful monsters inflict 2 wounds on a successful hit, as explained in the monster table. So then it says who is attacked. Who is attacked by monsters depend on 3 factors: 1, number of monsters; 2, your marching order; 3, wherever your room or a corridor. In the rooms with fewer monsters and characters, each monster must attack a different character. The marching order is ignored. If there's not enough monsters to attack all the characters, you decide which characters not attacked. For example, 3 goblins fight 2 warriors, a wizard, and a cleric. The player decides that the 3 goblins attack 2 wizards, and the wizard hides behind his friends not attacked. In a room as many monsters as there are characters, each character receives 1 attack. Okay? And in a room with more monsters and characters, each character receives 1 attack, and then you roll randomly to distribute the extra attacks. Exception: if the monster hates 1 character class, they will always perform extra attacks on that class. Trolls, goblins, and kobolds hate dwarfs, orcs hate elves, and the undead hate clerics. In a corridor, 2 monsters maximum will attack the 2 characters in places 1 and 2 of the marching order. A single character in a corridor will always be attacked by 2 monsters. Dragon's Breath will hit all characters in a corridor room. Wandering monsters in a corridor will sneak up to the party up to 2 monsters and attack the 2 characters in the rear. The characters are surprised and do not get the defense bonuses from a shield on this attack. So basically, yeah, so there's different situations for how to do attack and stuff. Each creature must make attack in different... Just doing a quick reroute. Yeah, so basically, as I mentioned, it's each monster must attack a different character, so it's man on man to a degree. Okay then, right, and then after that we have running away from combat. Sometimes your party will be so beat up that you might want to run away from an overwhelming opposition. There are 2 options: withdrawal and fight. Withdrawal. Your party slowly retreats to any room at its back, slamming the door shut and leaving the monsters on the other side. Make a note of where the monsters are, they will still be there if you enter that room again. Withdrawal is only possible when the characters have a door to slam shut between themselves and the monsters. If the room has an opening, withdrawal is not possible. During a withdrawal, the monsters get to strike once at the characters, but the characters have a +1 to defense rolls. Flight. So the party runs away. As to do so, each monster will attack once. Each character must make a defense roll. The bonus from shields do not apply in this case. If there's enough monsters to attack all characters, every character receives one attack. If there are fewer monsters than fleeing characters, the attacks will be directed first against the characters or characters who have lost more life points than against characters who are hated by the monsters. If none of the above conditions apply, randomize the attacks. If a character is killed by running away, his equipment and treasure remains in the room and may not be redistributed to the other members of the party. Mark the room on your map. You'll have to re-enter that fight and fight the monsters to recover the spoils of war. When monsters flee, sometimes monsters will run away from combat due to a failed morale roll or some other game effect. If this happens, each character may perform one attack and a +1 at a fleeing monster. In most cases, you may ignore this rule as it will not make any difference. The fleeing monsters count as defeated when you get the gold anyway. So when does a combat end? A combat ends when 1. All monsters in the room have been killed. 2. All monsters have fled. 3. All characters have been killed. 4. The party decides to break off from combat as explained above. Until the combat ends, a character may not perform any other action in attacking, defending, casting a spell, breaking away from combat, or any other action allowed by the description of the room the party is exploring, by the description of the monster, or by a magic item. For example, your rogue may not disarm a trap or search the room while the rest of the party is busy fighting. Looting. When your party defeats all the monsters in the room, make a roll on the treasure table. Some monsters may have more treasure than others. Some have a treasure roll modifier. For example, if the monster profile says treasure -1, you roll at a -1 on the table. Some monsters do not have treasure at all. You may make one roll per encounter, not one roll per monster. Roll for treasure even if the monsters flee. Distributed loot treasure as you see fit amongst your characters. However, barbarians may not be assigned magic items. They won't use them and won't even carry them. And then we have wandering monsters may never have any treasure. Carrying loot. Characters may carry any number of gems, jewelry, scrolls, magic wands, vials of holy water, and potions. Each character may carry a maximum of 200 gold pieces, 2 shields, 1 strapped in the back and 1 used, 3 weapons, magic staff counts as a weapon, and a 2-handed weapon counts as 2 weapons. Characters carrying more than this will have a -1 in their defense rolls. Searching rooms. All dungeons have secrets. Whenever an empty room is generated, you may decide that is not the case and roll on the table below. Halfling may use a luck point to re-roll. A room may be searched only once, mark it with an S. When searching the corridors, roll -1. And then we have 1 monster in attacks, 2, 4, rooms empty, 5, 6, clue, secret door, or hidden treasure. Wandering monsters. Wandering monsters are the security guards of the dungeon. They roam about using secret passages or hide in the shadows, using foolhardy adventurers until foolhardy adventurers pass by. When the rules call for wandering monsters, roll d6 to determine what type of monsters are attracted, so vermin, monsters, weird gnomes, and a 6 is a boss. Reroll any dragon. A wandering monster may not be the final boss. A raid to run adventure will always have its own wandering monster tables appropriate to the scenario. Wandering monsters sneak on the party and automatically attack first on the first turn in combat. Characters may not use the shield bonus on the first defense roll against wandering monsters. If you're in a corridor, the wandering monsters will attack the 2 rearmost characters. If you're in a room, then there's enough wandering monsters to attack all characters. All characters will be attacked by at least 1 monster, with extra attacks going against hated character types first, and then the characters with the lowest current life point total. Roll randomly if more characters have the same life point total. All wandering monsters roll morale when the situation calls for it, unless they're the monster type that never tests morale. Secret door. You found a secret door or passage. Draw a door at one side of the current room or corridor, and roll another random roll that connects with it. You may spy into the room and determine its content before stepping into it, and you may decide to leave it alone if danger seems too much for the party. If you find any treasure behind the secret door, its gold piece value is doubled. If you decide to enter the secret room, all monsters in the room will be surprised, reduced the level by 1 to a minimum 1 in the first turn of the short combat. If you find a secret door, roll a die. Roll a die. On a 6, congratulations, you'll find a safe shortcut out of the dungeon. You can exit the dungeon by reaching this room anytime. That's pretty cool, I didn't realize about that bit. Hidden treasure. Sometimes the room yields a lucky find. A loose brick or floorboard contains 3d6 times 3d6 gold pieces. However, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Before determining the amount of gold find, roll on the hidden treasure complication table below. And then we've got clues. Character found a clue for something big. Write clue on the character sheet. When the character has 3 clues, gained during the current adventure or over the course of the event campaign, your character discovered a major secret. The character immediately makes 1 XP roll, gaining a level of succeeds, and chooses one of the following game effects to represent the secret he has discovered. Weakness of a monster. When you meet a boss monster of your choice, you have a +2 to attack that monster. The bonus lasts for the whole duration of combat, not for a single attack. All characters in the party enjoy the bonus. Deal with the monster. When you encounter a monster, you may declare that you have a deal with the creature. The monster will let your party through the room without attacking you at any time that you need to. You may not, however, take the monster's treasure. You may not use this rule with vermin or with the final boss. Location of a secret treasure. When you enter any empty room, not the first room in the dungeon, you recognize the location of a hidden treasure that can be revealed by speaking the correct password. A niche opens in the wall and you loot 3d610 gold pieces. Location of a magic item. When you enter a room in the dungeon, not the starting one, you will recognize it as the location of a hidden magic item that can be revealed by speaking the correct password. You immediately gain 1 magic item from the random magic items table. True name of a spiritual entity. You're in contract with an angel or devil, your choice, but once chosen it cannot be changed. During the game, you may call upon an angel to heal a single character to full health or to rescue him out of a trapdoor. Alternatively, you may call a demon to inflict 4 life points of damage to a single creature to automatically kill up to 6 minions. Once used, this power lost forever and may not be regained again by the same character in the same campaign. New spell. Only an elf or wizard may take this, add a spell to your repertoire. Secret to increase magical or spiritual power. This can be taken by cleric, elf, or wizard and can only be attained can only once per character in a campaign. You may increase by 1 the number of times you use a single specific spell or the healing ability during an adventure. Location of a scroll. A character who normally cannot cast spells, but non-barbarian can take this. You find a scroll with a spell and a choice hidden in a niche in the dungeon. Recipe for a potion. You have killed at least 2 boss monsters and spent 50 gold pieces for the material components of this potion. After you accomplish this, you may purchase a potion healing for every adventure, at a cost of 50 gold pieces. You're assumed to have hired an apprentice to act as a home. The apprentice brews a new potion for you that is ready for you when you begin a new adventure. And then terrifying secret. Whenever a monster or group of minions must make a morale roll in your presence, you may utter the unspeakable secret, and the monsters will automatically fail the morale roll. This has no effect on monsters that do not test morale or the final boss. Some will pay money for that. Some will pay big money for that. You know a nobleman who lost an heirloom of a jewel. If you find a jewel, gem, or an item of any jewelry with gold piece value, and you manage to carry it out the dungeon, you can sell it for 3 times its stated value. Your enemies in this dungeon. A Chaos Lord has done something terrible to your character and you know he's been plotting and scheming to hurt you. When you meet a boss monster, you may change it with a Chaos Lord and fight against him with +1 to your attack rolls. The bonus lasts for the duration of the combat. Someone has been imprisoned. A important character, prince, noble, rich merchant, etc. is a prisoner in this dungeon. You may meet him in a room guarded by minions or by a boss monster. If you manage to free him and bring him out the dungeon alive, you receive a random magic item and a random treasure, or a doubling of your current gold pieces, wherever it's best. The prisoner is chained to a wall. An adventurer can break the chain during combat by winning an attack roll against level 4. Rogues and barbarians add the level when attempting to set the prison character free, and attempt to roll an adventurer rolling to free the prison may not attack the monsters that turn. You descend from a bloodline of dragon slayers. Only a barbarian or dwarf may take this. From now on, when a character fights a dragon, you add a +1 to your defense and to your attack rolls. Secret diet. You learn a secret diet to increase your stamina. You may not share it with your friends. As long as you spend 100 gold in food prior to each adventure, you will have 1 extra life point until the end of the adventure. The diet is not magical and can be used by barbarians. Halflings need to spend only 50 because they have access to excellent food already. And then clues and dying characters. Clues are discovered by a single character, but can be assumed that he shared the clue with his companion, so if a character dies, you can move the clue onto another character's profile. And then we move on to traps next. So trap. When a trap is found, roll on the table below to determine its type. Dart. The characters targeted by the attack must make a defense roll or lose 1 life. Poison gas. All characters must make a defense roll, ignoring the bonuses from shields or armor, or lose 1 life. Trapdoor. The characters must roll d6 versus the level of trap. Roll at -1 if you have light armor, -2 if you have heavy armor, and that's +1 if you're a halfling or an elf. Rogues add the level. A character failing to roll falls into the trapdoor, losing 1 life. In addition, it will take at least another character to help him out the trapdoor. If you fall in the trapdoor and you're alone, you die. Bear trap. The character must roll d6 trying to beat the level of the trap. Halflings and elves roll at +1, rogues add the level. A character failing the roll has a foot caught in the bear trap. The character loses 1 life and will have -1 to attack and defense rolls until that lost life is recovered and his limping leg heals. A limping character will roll at -2 against other bear traps and trapdoors. Spears. These are activated by the first character walking past them and attacking 2 random members of the party. A character failing his defense roll loses 1 life. Giant Stone. This level 5 attack strikes the last character in the marching order. The character must make a defense roll or lose 2 life. The bonus from armor counts, but the bonus from a shield does not. Rogues Disarming Traps. If a rogue leads the marching order, he has a chance to detect and disarm a trap before it can attack the party. The rogue rolls a d6 and adds his level. If the character beats a trap level, rolls a 6, he notices the trap and disarms it. Or, he warns the rest of the party in time. If he fails or he rolls a -1, the trap goes on as normal. So it says here, some dungeons have more traps than others, so sending a rogue in front may not be a bad idea. Of course, you have to prepare to heal the rogue. Scripted dungeons may have more unusual traps than the ones described in this table. The evil imagination of dungeon builders know no limit, true. And then we have optional rule for locked doors in random dungeons. You may roll a die for each door that appears in a room. On a 1 or 2, that door is locked. Roll 6d6 for the level of the lock. Mark a locked door with an L. You might find it tedious to roll for every single door, so consider this optional rule. The door will have a level determining how hard it is to bash it open or picklock it. You have 2 options. Bash the door down or use a rogue to lockpick the door. Bashing a door down, roll a die with a character. Barbarians and warriors add the level. Doors normally level 3, but some sturdy or magical doors may be 4, 5, or even 6 for metal doors. If you beat the door opens. If you do not beat the door, you may try again later. If you roll a 1, the noise attracts unwanted attention. Roll for wandering monsters. Bashing a door with magic. A wizard may also destroy a door with a lightning bolt or a fireball spell. This is automatic, but does cost a spell. Lockpicking a door. Only a rogue may attempt to lockpick a door. Roll a die and add the rogue level. If the rogue is alone in the room, no friends are watching his back, roll a -1. If the rogue beats the door's level, the lock is picked and the door is now open. The rogue fails, he is unable to open the door and the door must be bashed down. And then we have save versus. In some cases, the rule instructs you to save versus a specific attack. The name of the attack is normally just descriptive, but counts as the target number. Roll a d6, adding any modifiers to instructed. If you roll the target number better, nothing happens, but if you roll lower than the target number, you suffer with the consequences indicated. This is often loss of 1 life or some lasting inconvenience, such as being turned to stone, drowning, or being burnt to ash. For example, characters are urged to save versus level 3 poison or lose 1 life. A character rolling 1 or 2 will lose 1 life, characters rolling 3 or plus will be fine. Saving rules may have modifiers in general. Barbarians and halflings will have bonuses against things like poisons thanks to good health. Wizards will have bonuses against magic and mental attacks. Rogues and elves will have bonuses against things that can be dodged. Clerics have bonuses against the undead and so on. There is no one class that is always better than others in saving rolls. It's one of those aspects of the game that you will learn with experience. Saving rolls based on agility will often have a -1 if characters wear heavy armor. And then what's on the deeper levels? We're working on a supplement for the deeper levels of the dungeon, adding deadlier traps and monsters, more skills, special skills to your characters, and more treasure for you to plunder. And then here we have a quick glossary of things to remember, basically just a quick little, things to do. And then we have a fact here as well. So if there's anything here that, we are having trouble with, we can come back here and we can have a look through this. And then we have our play sheet, as you can see, with name, level, clues, type. That's the class, life, attack roll, defense rolls, abilities, GP, and equipment. So, and also we have monsters killed as well, which is important for the XP, which you kill 10 minions, for example, you get an XP roll, and boss monsters and everything. And then there's a guide to dungeon and room building tables, which we'll have a look at when we're doing it, and a quick reference sheet. And of course we have all of our tables here as well, which is pretty nice. So yeah, so basically that concludes our manual reading of 4 Gates of Darkness. So in the next episode, we're going to be doing a party generation, and I'll go through the ins and outs, how I will generate that party, and then the video after will be the official start to the series. So anyway, so that's going to be it for today's episode. So thank you very much for watching, and please consider liking and subscribing if this attracted you in any way, shape, or form, and hopefully you'll join me for future adventures. So apart from that, enjoy the rest of your awesome day. I'll see you next time. Take care.